Hello everyone again. In this lecture, we want to learn how to solve quadratic equations by quadratic formula. Sometimes you wonder if there is a magical formula out there that we can just look at the coefficients of our quadratic equation, the ABC values, and we just plug in that magical formula and boom, all of a sudden get the final answer. If you wonder if there is such a formula or not, yes, actually, there is such a formula. So this formula is the following. If you have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, a quadratic equation given in standard form, and you know the values of a, b, c, obviously they're real numbers, with the exception of a cannot be equal to 0, of course, then x, the final answer, believe it or not, is found by this magical formula known as quadratic formula. So negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. It's the first time you see this formula, so you may not be very familiar with that, but when you practice and you do so many questions using this quadratic formula, then you will feel very comfortable using it in future. So we have a quadratic equation right here. I want to solve it by quadratic formula. The first thing I do is to determine the values of a, b, c, okay? So I'm going to say, what is a here? It is 3. That's the coefficient of x squared. And then what is b? That's negative 5. And c is negative 2. So that's the first thing I do. Identify a, b, c values. Step 2, so that was step 1. Step 2 is to write the quadratic formula. And you will automatically memorize this if you use it a lot. Like I automatically memorized it after I used it a lot. So we write the quadratic formula in step 2. Step 3, we just have to plug in numbers. Substitution, basically. Okay? So I have negative b, which means negative 5, because my b value is negative 5, plus minus square root of b squared, which is negative 5, inside the brackets. It's important you put negative numbers inside the brackets. Squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is negative 2. Okay, divided by 2 times 3, that's 2a. So this is actually the final answer, believe it or not. This is that magical formula which gives you the final solution to the quadratic equation in one shot. But we need to calculate it, of course. So we have to use calculator probably to find out what the answer is. So step 4 is just computation. Negative 5 is just 5. And then we have 5 times 5 is 25. So we have 25. Negative times negative is positive. So that's 6 times 4, 24. So under the radical, I think I will end up with 5 plus minus square root of 49, if I'm not mistaken. 24 and 25 is 49. And what is square root of 49? It's 7, obviously. So I'm going to say x equals 5 plus minus 7 over 6. Again, you're scratching your head. You're saying, okay, which one of these answers should I pick? Positive 7 or negative 7? Well, you take both into account. So I'm going to say here I have x sub 1 and I have x sub 2. So first solution, second solution. We end up with two solutions, normally or oftentimes in quadratic equations. Quadratic equations have at most 2 roots or 2 solutions. And in this case, we will end up with 2 solutions actually. So I'll take 5 with the plus 7 over 6. And once again, 5 minus 7 over 6. So 7 and 5 add up to 12. And 12 divided by 6 is obviously 2, right? So that is one of the solutions. And 5 minus 7 is negative 2 divided by 6 is negative 1/3. Reduce the fraction. So negative 1 over 3. And that is my second solution. So this quadratic equation had 2 roots. X sub 1, the first root is 2, and x sub 2, the second root is negative 1 over 3. How did I solve the quadratic equation? Well, I used this magical formula known as quadratic formula. Okay? And the first step was identifying ABC values. Step 2 was writing the formula down. Step 3 is substitution. And step 4, just use the calculator or mental math to find the final answers. This is another exercise I'm going to solve. Again, I'm going to say A is 1, B is negative 4, and C is positive 4, identifying. Then I'm going to write the formula down. By writing the formula down, automatically I'm memorizing it. When you use the formula a lot, you automatically memorize it. So negative 4 is positive 4, plus minus negative 4. I repeat again, you place the negative sign inside the brackets, minus 4 times a times c all over 2a, which is 2 times 1. So that was step 3, substitution. And now step 4, just calculating the final answer. So I end up with 4 plus minus. Now here I get 16 minus 16. Okay, it's a coincidence that we end up with 0. And what is square root of 0 is 0. So that means I end up with 4 plus minus 0. And you know that it doesn't matter if you add 0 or subtract 0, right? So the numerator is going to be 4 anyway. And the answer is going to be 2. So it's kind of interesting that in this exercise, instead of ending up with 2 roots, we ended up with 1 actually real root, and that is 2. In other words, you can say that the 2 roots x sub 1 and x sub 2 are actually equal. So basically we have 1 real root, or you can say we have 2 real roots which are both equal to one another, and that is x equals 2. So in the first example, we end up with 2 distinct real roots. In this second example, we ended up with 2 equal real roots. 2 distinct real roots and 2 equal real roots. In this third one, I'm going to do the same thing. Nothing has changed. So I go a equals 1, b equals 1, and c equals 5. Okay. But then here, something interesting is going to happen. So you see this expression under the radical sign, b squared minus 4ac? It's right here. This one, believe it or not, actually has a particular name in the world of mathematics. It is called discriminant. Discriminant. Okay, so b squared minus 4ac, which is a number, end of the day, it is called this so-called discriminant. And if this discriminant is positive, like in my first example, it was positive 49, we end up with 2 real roots. But if it is equal to 0, we notice that 4 plus 0, 4 minus 0, it didn't matter. So in this case, we end up with only 1 real root, or 2 equal roots. Now in this case, let me find the b squared minus 4ac for this case, and see what happens. It's going to be 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5. I end up with negative 19. Something interesting. Now, if the discriminant is a negative number, which is negative 19, nobody can take the square root of a negative number, right? So because the discriminant is negative, so we cannot actually calculate the roots of this quadratic equation, because we are supposed to find the square root of a negative number, which is impossible. So in this case, we are going to announce that this quadratic equation has no real solution. Okay, no real solutions because the discriminant was negative. So I don't even need to bother, showing all that work, all those steps. I just justify my claim that the equation has no real roots by just checking that the discriminant is negative. So a quadratic equation can be solved using quadratic formula. If the discriminant is positive, we always have 2 real roots. 2 distinct real roots. If the discriminant is 0, we have only 1 real root, in other words, 2 equal roots. And if the discriminant is negative, actually the quadratic equation has no real roots. 3 possibilities that may happen in different problems, okay? So please keep practicing and solve quadratic equations using your textbook exercises, and follow the 4 steps as I explained, so that you become more and more fluent in using quadratic formula. In the next lectures, I'll discuss other techniques of solving quadratic equations. Thank you very much.